Hi, this is Chris Marano of Local Harmony and Clearpath Herbals, standing in what many people will recognize as the Hungry Ghost Bread Bakery Garden. Today is, I think, June the 9th or June 10th, and here we are in a very strange time where we're supposed to be socially distancing and maybe staying out of public places more than we usually would like to. But we thought, if you can't come to the gardens and enjoy them, then we'll bring the gardens to you. So part of the Summer Herb Talk series this year will be stripped down. There won't be as many speakers. We'll be starting it sometime in early July, ending it in late August. And there will be a few speakers alternating with me on other days, bringing you for a more extended herb walk through these gardens. Usually we talk cursorily about a few of them and then go on with our talk. So I thought what I would do over a series of 4 talks is take you on a tour of the gardens and focus on the plants that looks like, if I wait too long, you'll miss a spectacular show like these giant globe alliums. So today I will be just picking a few herbs and speaking about them. And that'll be the virtual herb walk brought to you by Local Harmony, which I'm a co-director along with Owen Wormser of Abound Design, who basically designed a spectacular showpiece. Every herb in this garden is medicine of one kind or another, or is a representative of the species that is that medicine. So I'm an herbalist by trade. Clearpath Herbals is my company, and these in fact are sister gardens to my official medicine gardens in Montague on Brooksbend Farm. These are the jewel piece. These are just slamming with beauty and great pollinator attractors and medicine and a great place to hang out. And I believe you could hang out here on these steps if they're empty. So how about we start the show and I talk about some herbs that are in full flower because they're beautiful. So you can follow me over to the California poppy. Shall we keep going? Yes. So of course we have to bear with the traffic. We're on a corner of a major intersection in Northampton. I'm sure I'm going to go out of sound a little bit if a major band of motorcycles or a big truck goes by. There's construction people over there. We're on a sidewalk. Smith College is up the road in case you're somebody who's not familiar with the area. And there are multiple pathways through this garden. I wanted to bring your attention, so we could get off the sidewalk, to these showcase California poppies. State flower of California. Has an almost unpronounceable scientific name, Eschscholtzia californicum. Eschscholtzia is the name of some botanist from a ways back. This is the actual medicine. The medicine is the entirety of the plant, including the root. I don't use the root because the medicine is strongest above the ground in the entirety of the aerial parts, meaning the stem, these beautiful greenish or bluish green feathery flower leaves, and then these gorgeous buttery orange yellow flowers. It's in the poppy family, but it is not a true poppy. It has much of the same kind of medicine that people would associate with poppy, meaning sedating, calming, pain relieving, antispasmodic. However, much milder, not habit forming, and also not the plant you're going to try to derive the liquid to make opium products from. It's not going to happen with this plant. So when I am collecting this medicine, which grows really easily here in Massachusetts and New England as an annual, as a self-seeding annual, this plant will come back every year. It will very likely not be the same plant, but they drop enormous numbers of seeds. They have a very long flowering time. These will probably still be flowering in October. When I take the medicine, I take it in full bloom, and I just give it a haircut. It will come right back. Here is flowers that have already gone over, and they will create these long extended seed pods, and they'll keep on flowering. So taking them and just encourages more growth. And so I take it, and I like to make the medicine fresh. So it's better from my point of view to make it as a tincture, although it will work fine as a dried tea product. And I use it in formulas and alone to treat a whole assortment of pain issues, anxiety issues, sleep issues. It has a particular affinity for the gallbladder. And here we can talk about a doctrine of signatures. A doctrine of signatures is a catch-all term to talk about how the plant is expressing its medicine to us through the way it looks, or the color, or its aroma, or its flavor. In the case of California poppy, it's not very aromatic. Its flavor is decidedly bitter, and the color of the leaves of the flowers are decidedly in the yellow to orange realm, which tells us that we should at least ask questions about whether it has medicine that pertains to the liver and the gallbladder, and to bile, and to digestive process. And California poppy is considered a primo antispasmodic for a distressed gallbladder, and very helpful in formulas to appease that, and also to help with the passing of bile stones. Here's one of those trucks. Or the passing and the moving of bile sludge through the gallbladder. I use it a lot in digestive disturbance, irritable bowel syndrome protocols, when I feel the issue is stemming to the liver and gallbladder. From the point of view of Chinese medicine, the gallbladder also has a lot of say-so over tension and anxiety and irritation held in any way, shape, or form in the body, either mentally or in parts of our physicality. And so when I'm addressing what I think that being an issue, which is quite often these days, I will oftentimes have California poppy in the formula. It's marvelous medicine. It's very user-friendly. It's very hard to make a mistake with this plant. It would be great to have on hand to help with pain, especially spasming pain, headaches, tension headaches, headaches of all kinds, migraines, liver headaches, coming up from the liver and the gallbladder and affecting the back of the head and catching the forehead or the eye or the temporal area. Also very good in sleep and insomnia formulas. It's one of the first herbs I think of to go into a sleep disturbance formula. So I'm not sure what else I want to say about this plant. I use it as a tincture. I always make it fresh. I think it's stronger medicine when it's made fresh. And I can't remember the percentage of alcohol off the top of my head. Sorry about that. But I think that's all I want to say about California poppy. And you can see this if you're coming for baked products at the Hungry Ghost Bread. You'll be able to see this in flower from now, June, all the way at least through the end of September, probably well into October. Yeah. So hi, this is Chris Marano again, here at the Hungry Ghost Bread Bakery Gardens, sitting in this beautiful amphitheater, and this is totally raw and live. You can hear the heavy machinery off to my right, so I'll speak a little louder if I need to, and discuss the next plant on this beautiful early June day that I want to discuss. Like I said, all of the plants in this garden are medicines or representatives of medicinal species, and we talked about California poppy. Here it is, still growing right amongst the rocks here. And there's some foxglove. There's some nigella or love in the mist about ready to blossom. There's some yarrow behind me. But what I'm bringing your attention to is this beautiful carpet of thyme. Thymus vulgaris is the official species name that most herbalists would like to use for medicine. There are many species of thyme, some of them beautiful tasting, beautiful looking, aromatic cultivars, some that grow really great carpet-like among the stones. And of course it's famous as a spice that everybody knows about. It has a sharp bite to it. In the herbal world of tastes, we would consider it to be spicy, but in the subcategory of spicy, considered pungent. And its energetic nature would be considered warming and drying, meaning that it has a warming effect on blood and circulation, on raising body temperature and bringing warmth to the digestive system, motivating digestion, and also drying in that it cuts through stagnant, boggy situations, especially in the lungs and the digestive system, where things can get bogged down with phlegm, expectorations, or in a more stagnant kind of slowed down, boggy, damp digestive situation in the stomach, intestines, or colon. So I'll get out of the way so we can get a better view of this, and I'll continue talking about it. It's major medicine, of particular importance right now. One of the primary medicines of thyme is what it's famous for as a spice, and it's considered a renowned carminative, meaning what I just said earlier. It helps to cut through stagnation. It helps to motivate secretion of digestive juices so that you can digest food better. Very useful with heavier, greasier foods in the older European days when they had to eat foods that might have also been spoiling, and they had to make sure that they weren't going to suffer the consequences. Putting thyme in there serves as an antioxidant, a flavoring agent, a digestive agent, and also an antimicrobial. These are all of the properties that thyme is famous for. So anytime I'm thinking about a cool down, boggy, digestive complaint situation, I may not use thyme in the formula, but it's always going to be one of the first herbs I consider. There might be another that I'm more particularly drawn to, but thyme is always on the list. Also, as an antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, antiseptic, thyme is unparalleled. It's amazingly powerful. One of the essential oils from thyme is called thymol, Thymol, is famous. It's used in hospitals everywhere. It's the main ingredient in their betadine solution for scrubbing down tables and sterilizing things. It was one of the preventive medicines seriously recommended for people during this COVID crisis to prevent the virus from moving from the mucous membrane stage of your mouth and your sinuses into the lungs, where it's going to do damage. The reports were coming in that it took a little while for that to occur, and their suggestion was steaming, because high heat helps to destroy the virus. And on top of that, thymol, or the main ingredient in thyme essential oil, also destroys the virus. Even though the virus is tenacious, once it takes hold, it's a fragile creature. And so if you can hit it topically, as in doing a steam inhalation with a drop or two of essential oil of thyme, is going to pretty much eradicate anything that might have been harboring in your sinuses and even starting to drop down into your lungs. Thyme has been used immemorial in that way. as a tea beverage, now also very good as a tincture with high alcohol content, because you need that to capture its complex array of chemical constituents. I have it in my antibacterial formula, in my antimicrobial formula. Anytime somebody is harboring a pathogenic illness in the respiratory system, especially if it is of a more bacterial nature and it's chronic, we're trying to motivate expectoration as well as the antiseptic and also the antimicrobial. If the energetic nature of the respiratory condition is of a cooler and more congested nature than thyme. So when considering thyme for a respiratory formula, if your respiratory illness is also already of a hot and dry nature, meaning very irritated, inflamed, maybe feverish, and no production of mucus at all, really dry, then thyme would just be adding flames to the fire. But if it's more gunky and phlegmatic, a lot of mucus, and you're trying to move and motivate it and get the temperature and the stimulation up, then it's super called for. So thyme is invaluable in that way. Also, because of its warmth, it's a very good circulatory stimulant. It helps to motivate blood to the periphery, to the head, to the brain, to the limbs, to the fingers and toes. It warms digestion, and it helps to improve circulation. So it's a very, very diverse medicine that also is probably in your kitchen right now, in your spice rack. You can enjoy it in your food, become creative with it. It's not used as much as other spices, but it goes really well along with rosemary and other spices on roasted roots. It's used a lot in meat dishes because its antiseptic value and its strong antioxidant value helps to digest these richer foods. The medicine is the leaf. I know we're looking at it now in full flower. The bees love it. It's psychedelic if you look at it from the top down. But as you know, you don't have flowers of thyme in your spice bottle. It's the leaf that's the medicine. And it's tiny, as you can see. But thyme loves your garden, easy to grow, and it does beautiful things around stone steps. And there are many cultivars: lemon thyme, creeping thyme, minty thyme. It is a mint, as most spices are in the mint family. And I use it again in tincture form. Most of my medicines I use in tincture form. I feel they're more potent and more malleable. And I use high alcohol content for this, somewhere up to around 70% when I'm pulling out the medicines. And yeah, that's what I want to say about thyme. Marano of Clearpath Herbals here again, hosting a virtual herb walk through the Hungry Ghost Bread Bakery Medicine Gardens. Of course, I think anybody who is driving through or walking through this area or sitting on these steps is absolutely blown away to the point of almost laughing at the absurd beauty and over the top largeness of this plant, which I think some of you will notice is in the allium genus, or the garlic and onion family. This is a giant globe onion, and although I would not use this particular species for medicine, this is an amazing eye-popping representative for this incredibly medicinal genus that's also quite tasty in the food department. So I think most of you are familiar with the diverse culinary and medicinal attributes of the garlic and onions. That's what I'm going to be talking about, but you may just ignore me and decide to kind of bliss out on these flowers. The way these honeybees are amazing pollinator attractors, It looks like there's a good portion of the hive here right now. If you were to take a close look at all of these flowers, and these two, it looks like they're, it almost looks like cell division. I almost don't want to talk about them, I just want to look at them. But so it's in the lily family. Onions and garlic are in the lily family. Notice the leaves, of which are going over now. But it's got that same expressive palm frond lily look. And then up comes the top flower stalk, and you have any manner of globe-like flower tops. This one just happens to be the granddaddy of them all. And the food and the medicine is throughout the plant, in the stem, in the leaf, in the bulbs, right? In the onion itself, in the garlic itself, also in the scapes. I'm not so sure about the flowers, but every other part of the plant is medicinal. And medicinal in more or less the same way. It is that flavor, that onion garlic flavor, which when raw has a sharp pungency to it. It's strong in sulfurous compounds. There's also a very special chemical constituent in garlic and some of the onion species called allicin, and that is one of the foremost chemically active medicinal components. That's why they say in order to truly activate the allicin, best to smash the garlic clove and then chop it up and let it sit for about 10 minutes. The exposure of the juices to the atmosphere helps to metabolize or mature the allicin into its more potent nature, and then you use that in your food. If you're looking for onions and garlic more for its antimicrobial nature, then it would be better to ingest it raw, when it has that pungent sharpness to it, when you can taste the sulfur in it. And there it is one of the premier and super underrated medicines. Onion especially, garlic not so underrated. We know of the value of garlic as a premier antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiparasitic, with an affinity for the mucous membrane system and the blood. Really good if you are harboring some kind of intense respiratory illness. The worse it is, the more garlic is called for. Onions the same way. Everything I'm saying about garlic, you can say about onions. Garlic is just amped up and stronger. And the sharper it is, the more sulfurous and sharp and antimicrobial it's going to be. It also opens up and expands the lung passages, so very useful for respiratory system for a dual nature. Its warming, pungent nature comes in and helps to thin the mucus, helps with expectoration, helps with direct antimicrobial action, and it also is very useful for illnesses that are of a colder, damper nature. If you're hacking up green phlegm, you want garlic in that medicine. Same is true if you are harboring any kind of pathogen in your stomach or intestines. Premier food poisoning medicine, salmonella, dysentery, worms, amoebic dysentery, very useful for the entirety of the digestive system, from stomach through small intestines through large intestines. This is the nature of garlic and onions when taken in raw form or processed in raw form. I have it in tincture form, but you can just as easily have the cloves handy and use them when you need them. Just use them in your food. If you want it for its antimicrobial nature, don't put it in your spaghetti sauce stock and let it cook for 3 hours, because all of it's going to get played out. Put this as raw, chopped, minced garlic sprinkled on top of your food just before you start eating it, and blend it into the food after it comes off the heat. The sharper and more raw it is, the better it is. Although for many people, myself included, it can make me very queasy if taken on an empty stomach or without something together with it, like wrapped in a piece of bread. I know some people just love to go to the Garlic and Arts Festival so that they can watch the garlic eating contest and knock back 30, 40, 50 raw cloves. I'm ready to puke just watching them. So you have to be careful there. It definitely motivates churning in the digestive system, and if the stomach doesn't like it, it's going to try to repel it a little bit. But again, you can totally mask it by mixing it with other foods and have it in its raw form. Onions, scallions, chives, shallots, they are all in the onion garlic family. Use them for that. They also help to keep the blood clean. High antioxidant nature, that sulfurous nature in them is very good for just keeping you clean and clear of pathogens. That's one half. The other half is when you cook them, especially if you bake them. When you bake onions or let them saute a while, the sharpness goes away and this sweet flavor comes forward. Sweet to the point of being like candy, and mucousy, mucilaginous, which is the nature of sweet tasting things. They are usually of a damper, more mucilaginous nature, and they're of course sweet, nutritive. So onions and garlic, and in this case probably more so onions, are deeply nutritive for emaciated, undernourished conditions, or when your mucous membranes have gotten dried out or battered or really played out from fighting illness, like chronic bronchitis, chronic dysentery, chronic pneumonia, fighting off a respiratory illness for quite some time and feeling like it's weak. And here you can take this medicine internally, and it's like mother's milk for your lung and digestive mucous membrane tissue. Not only that, you can apply it topically. If you are harboring a really deep, cold, hard respiratory condition like COVID, then putting a combination of cooked onions mashed up into a soft pulp, which is really sweet, and mixing it half and half with raw, sharp, pungent onion, and making this slather and just laying that across your chest is probably as important a medicine as any as you could do for helping to soothe and open up the lungs and bring ease to respiration while you're also nourishing them and fighting illness. So topical application of onion plasters is a time-honored medicinal therapy going back for centuries. You can use it externally, eating them internally to bring that strength back. For people who were actively fighting COVID, when they were asking me for help and they were saying I can only use what's around my kitchen, was the very first thing I was talking about how you can use the onions and garlic family internally raw for the antimicrobial nature and opening up the passages and thinning the secretions, and then the richness and the sweetness of it to help nourish and bring strength back. And then reaching for thyme, all these things that you could reach for in your own kitchen to deal with this illness. Onions, garlic, ginger, thyme, sage, valuable medicines. So yeah, again, this would not be the species I would use for medicine, but when it comes to choosing the species I want to blow away people with eye candy in this medicine garden, this is the one. Super beautiful. This bumblebee hasn't left this flower for a while now. So yeah, another beauty from the Clearpath medicine. Hey, Chris Marano here again, Clearpath Herbals, local herbalist here in the valley for 20 years while I contend with a reversing large heavy machinery truck. They're always doing some kind of construction here in this busy intersection, but these gardens at the Hungry Ghost Bread Bakery are a sanctuary. It's a place that people have come to love for its beauty, for its diversity, for its attraction of pollinators in the insect world and also in the bird world. You can always hear birds chirping in the background. These trees over here are going to be producing berries that are going to invite even more birds to the area. So all of the medicines in these, all of the herbs in these gardens are medicines outright, or representatives of medicines that might be the first cousin to it in the same genus. So we've been talking about a few of the herbs here. I've been focusing on the ones that are already in flower so we can have more to talk about and save the other ones that will flower later for another day. This Herb Talk series, it's us bringing the gardens to you, since in these strange times it's harder for you to come to the gardens. I will be interspersing these herb walks. Beautiful day for a ride on a bike. I'll be interspersing these herb walks, talks, alternating with 4 or 5 speakers throughout this season. All of it will be shown through Zoom format on the usual night of a Friday from 5:30 to 6:30, although they might not be filmed live on that day. There will be a time when, at the end of each talk, where it will be open to questions and answers, and of course chats via Zoom, which we'll make available to you through promotion. But here I am promoting plants. I would like to talk about yet another medicinal that is highly valued and underrated at the same time. To my right here, this gentle beauty of lady's mantle. That's its common name. Its scientific name is Alchemilla vulgaris. What a juxtaposition of name, Alchemilla. It speaks of this incredible mystery, the alchemical nature of the plant, and then vulgaris means common. So this juxtaposition of these extremes. Why it's common? It might be common because it's the representative species of its genus. This can be found in many people's garden beds, as much for the beauty of the leaf as to these delicate, inconspicuous flowers. Very soft. These leaves, if you come close, they have a very soft, downy hair effect, and it's very inviting. It almost looks like a receiving dish. I want to show you something about this. I hope it works. I'm going to pour a little water on it. There, it worked. So, imagine this was first thing in the morning, and that water wasn't coming from a thermos, but from dew. So if you'll notice, this plant, the signature nature that I've come to know about this plant, that is simultaneously receiving and also repelling. This dual nature to me speaks to the signature medicine in this plant that works for all people, but especially for females, for women in the sexual reproductive area, especially where boundaries and abuse issues may have an underlying influence on what they might be experiencing in their physical health. So on the one hand, very receiving and inviting, right? And on the other hand, it's like, no, you can't completely penetrate into me. I'm just like, I can completely repel you. This here is called Alchemist's Dew. So I'll speak to this a little bit later, and I'll keep you in suspense for a little bit. So this dual nature of the plant also manifests in the texture and the nature of the medicine. This plant is filled with tannins, and tannins are chemical constituents that are drying in nature, like when a cup of strong tea makes your tongue kind of furry and dry. That's the tannic nature in tea and coffee. And tannins help to astringe and tone and tighten up in a good way tissue that has become lax, boggy, lax either because of weakness, losing tone. It's like actually toning up not just muscles, but toning up your mucous membranes, helping them to bind back up and become like brand new stocking again instead of an old played out stocking or sock. And tannins help to astringe and tighten and tone tissue, especially mucous membrane tissue. So that would be the bladder and the genitourinary system. So bladder, urethra, ureters, I should say, not uterus, it's uterus, and also stomach, colon, large intestine, stomach, and also the lungs and the respiratory system. Its affinity is for the genitourinary system. That's where it makes a beeline for, but it can be useful in any of those areas. So on the one hand, drying, toning, astringing, to boggy, flaccid, extra secreting of extra fluids. Um, but on the other hand, if you chew this leaf, once you get past the dry tannic part, it starts to become mucousy in your mouth. So it also has mucilaginous constituents in it, which has the opposite energetic of tannins. Instead of being drying, it's moistening. Instead of helping to cinch up the tissue, it helps to coat and bring a protective nature to it, and also to encourage the secretion of its own mucus, which is healthy because it lines the bladder or whatever tissue it is. So this dual nature makes ladies' mantle very useful. And it's not like it's unique or even super rare in the plant world, at least the plant medicine world. Raspberry has that ability as well. The rose family has that ability as well. But ladies' mantle's virtues are paramount when it comes to helping with those boggy, weaker, maybe going towards collapse or prolapse situations of the genitourinary system, particularly the uterus and the bladder, and especially if there's an underlying component that can be connected to an abuse pattern, which is so unfortunately so common amongst our species. It's sad to say, but this is why this plant becomes so useful. This alchemists do is the signature nature of a person who has strong boundaries, of saying, I'm strong enough to say, I invite you in, but it's my call. I'm the one who says you're allowed in. And I have the call to actually say what can come truly in and what is not me. What is you or other and what is me. So when we make flower essences, flower essence is derived in a very energetically subtle way by taking the flowers of a plant in its peak climactic flowering phase, like those alliums over there, and even these ladies' mantles, and putting them in some spring clear water in a crystal bowl and allowing the essence of this medicine and the personality, or that signature personality that's in the plant, becomes expressed in these flower essences. And that's what I was talking about with this plant. Its signature nature is one of strong boundaries, of knowing when to say yes and when to say no, and bringing strength back to areas that have been challenged by that. And except that in the case of ladies' mantle, people have known this for centuries. That's why they've given it the name alchemist, alchemilla, as it's its own alchemist. It makes its own flower essence. It's creating and distilling these liquids and cooling it up and holding it for you. So I know I have it in my apothecary, and many herbalists I know also do, but they'll go around to ladies' mantle on one summer morning when they're just laden in their center cups with a lot of water, and you take an eyedropper and you pour it directly into a bottle and add some brandy, and you have instantaneous, maybe not flower essence medicine, but true alchemical medicine made by the plants, not needing any help from you at all. I also use this medicinally in tea form and in tincture form in order to help with any boggy, weakened condition of the bladder, of the uterus, so foremost for women and female reproductive issues, but also for bladder, male or female, doesn't matter. If there are chronic UTIs or weak bladder, tendency towards cloudy urine because the bladder has lost its tone and its strength. If you have to pee more frequently because the bladder sphincter is weaker and it's more urgent to go and more frequent to go. This in Chinese medicine is called a loss of upright qi or toning qi. And ladies' mantle, if it was in the Chinese Materia Medica, would be considered a tonifying medicine for upright qi. Not necessarily on the deep underlying underpinning nutritive side, but how to use it and what to do with it. So I use these in what Chinese would call kidney yin deficiency disorders, where it's affecting the bladder and other mucous membrane tissues that seem to have lost their verve and their tone. whether it's for the urinary bladder, again, for uterus, weak, extra watery menstrual flow, boggy respiratory tissue, just holding on to fluids more because the tissues aren't able to astringe and hold them themselves. This is the primary medicine of this plant, and also quite lovely and beautiful in the garden. And also not here at the moment, probably because I scared them, but the pollinators love lady's mantle as well. So I encourage you to bring this into your garden for beauty, for pollinators, and for medicine, and doesn't need your help. In fact, it's here to help you. That's what I want to say about lady's mantle. Thank you. Hey, Chris Marano here again from Clearpath Herbals and Local Harmony at the Hungry Ghost Bread Bakery Medicinal Gardens. And this will be the last herb that I speak about today on this absolutely gorgeous June 9th day. I've been concentrating on speaking in more detail about the different medicines that are in this garden, especially focusing on the ones that are in peak flower right now, because might as well take advantage. These flowers might be over the top next time we come back and visit. So I wanted to talk about them. Today we talked about California poppy, which is growing around us with the orangey yellow flowers, and thyme, and the globe allium onion, giant behemoth, beautiful Dr. Seuss plants, and lady's mantle, the delicate green and yellow flowering plant over there on the other side of the amphitheater. And I would like to wrap up with foxglove, kind of a nice bookend with the lady's mantle. It's a similar kind of pale yellowish flower atop equally paler green leaf, fuzzy leaf, tall spike, bell-shaped flowers. These plants are biennial, meaning that 2-year lifespan. So first year, not in flower, a beautiful rosette of fuzzy leaves, and then in the second year up come the flowers and then the seeds, and you have self-seeding biennials, hopefully. So when we were designing these gardens, the directive was that every species in this garden was going to be medicine, or a representative of a species that is medicine. And I was asked, are they all going to be medicines that you would use on a daily basis? And I said, no, I'm going to just pick medicines that are able to grow here, that are renowned throughout the world for different ways. Whether they are used extensively now or not is not part of the equation. And also that they would be pollinator attractors and able to withstand the environment of a major town. And also picking species and representatives that would be beautiful. So foxglove has several species. They all have these beautiful bell-shaped flowers. I believe this is Digitalis lutea, as opposed to the other one that is more of a pinkish magenta red color. But this medicine is not one I have on my shelf, because if I were, I would have to draw like 2 to 3 skull and crossbones on the label, because this medicine falls into toxic and lethally toxic. And that was, people said, well, why do you have that here? And I said, because it's still profoundly important medicine. This medicine finds its way into major pharmaceutical medicine called digoxin, which comes from Digitalis plants. This chemical constituent, which is found throughout the plant but extensively in the leaves, falls into the chemical family of cardiac glycosides. These cardiac glycosides are formidable, very potent. They help to change the sodium gradient across the muscle fibers of the heart, thereby creating stronger contractile force, or language of the layman, it makes your heart beat stronger. So it's used extensively in pharmaceutical medicine under the trademark of digoxin to be used for people who are suffering from weakened heart conditions, either post-heart attack or congestive heart failure, where the contractile force is weak. So this medicine is a prime example of the medicine being in the dose. If you take the same amount of medicine you would take of garlic or California poppy, it would kill you. It would be poison to the point of making the contractile force of your heart so strong and so fast that you would have a seizure. So in small amounts, in very small amounts, or in semi-synthesized amounts extracted from the plant and controlled in dose, it becomes life-saving medicine in the area of heart and heart conditions. There's another plant that grows here off to my left, and it's not visible anymore because it comes out first thing in April and flowers in May. It's called Squill, and Squill is rarely used in Western American herbal medicine, but it's used quite a bit, extensively in Europe. And again, it is heart medicine. It has like one skull and crossbone, also has cardiac glycosides, very helpful for strengthening a weakened heart condition. Most herbalists I know of in the United States stay away from that area because there are many medicines that the pharmaceutical industry has created that most people who are already in that condition are already on those medicines, and there's no point in doubling up on it. Like I said, I don't have this on my shelf, but I do know how to use it. And basically, I'm not going to tell you how to use it except in the most general of terms, because I am not advocating using this at all. However, it has been used in the past as an herbal medicine long before they invented pharmaceutical pills. And what you would do is just make a tea decoction of this or a tincture of it, and then you would totally dilute the dose down to a place of dilution where it is definitely safe, and then you administer it in very small building spoonfuls, half spoonfuls, quarter spoonfuls, so you can monitor the symptoms. The symptoms of having too much Digitalis and overdose would be nausea, maybe vomiting, blurriness in the vision, and the eyes start to lose their motor control. If you start getting into that neurological area, then you're in trouble, and you are also going to start feeling chest pains and probably increased heartbeat, salivation, and the rest of it. So like I said, I don't use it. There are other medicines that also contain cardiac glycosides that are in a milder form that can be used more easily and more safely. But for beauty's sake, it's here. I believe it's called Digitalis because the digit of a finger supposedly can fit inside the flower. My fingers are a little too big, but that's the reason why it has the scientific name it does. And yeah, very, very specific medicine for increasing the strength of the heartbeat. Good in formulas for angina, good in formulas for congestive heart failure, but needs to be used by very experienced herbalists. And so wrapping up again, Foxglove is not medicine that should be used by any but the most experienced herbalists. And as I said, herbalists I know don't even use it because people already are on pharmaceutical cocktails for their heart if they've gotten to the place where they have been diagnosed with congestive heart failure or have had a heart attack and they're recovering. There are gentler medicines for strengthening and nourishing the heart that keep you out of the danger zone of hurting the client or yourself. But beautiful nonetheless, and definitely a medicine in the plant world. So that should wrap it up for today. I'll come back another day and hopefully other plants will be in flower and we'll talk about those. So like I said, if you can't come to the gardens, we'll bring the gardens to you. Have a beautiful rest of a Wednesday, June 9th day. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so have some fun today.